Most people think food is about ingredients: salt, oil, meat, fire. They believe if you copy the recipe, you can copy the taste. But Filipino food breaks that rule, because no matter how many times people try to recreate it, no matter how skilled the chef is, something is always missing. And that is why Filipino food is impossible to copy. Before we go deeper, let me ask you something. Have you ever tasted a dish that felt emotional? Not just delicious, but meaningful. If you've ever felt that, stay until the end. Because by the time this video finishes, you'll understand Filipino food in a way most people never do. And if you love learning the hidden stories behind culture and food, please subscribe, like this video, and comment your answer to this question at the end. Now listen carefully. Filipino food was never designed to impress outsiders. It was never meant to be trendy. It was never built to look beautiful on a menu. It was built to survive. That is the first reason it cannot be copied. Because you can copy a recipe, but you cannot copy survival. For centuries, the Philippines lived through hunger, not once, not twice, but over and over again. Colonization, war, natural disasters, poverty. Food was not about choice. Food was about making it through the day. And when food is created under those conditions, it changes forever. Other cuisines often ask, what tastes best? Filipino food asked a different question. What do we have right now? And that question shaped everything. Leftover rice became fried rice. Sour broth became a way to preserve meat. Sweetness balanced salt because sugar was available. Vinegar became protection against spoilage. These were not culinary experiments. They were survival decisions. That is why Filipino food feels layered, quiet, complex, and why copying it without understanding that history always falls flat. Another reason Filipino food cannot be copied is because it was shaped inside homes, not restaurants. Many famous cuisines grew inside royal kitchens, palaces, fine dining traditions. Filipino food grew inside small kitchens, crowded houses, families with little space and fewer ingredients. Recipes were not written down. They were remembered, passed from grandmother to mother, from mother to child, measured by feeling, not by cups or spoons. Enough salt. Just a little more sour. Cook until it smells right. How do you copy that? You can read a recipe online, but you cannot download instinct. That instinct is built from repetition, from watching someone cook every day, from hunger teaching you what works. This is why two Filipino households can cook the same dish and it will taste completely different. And both will be correct. Because Filipino food is not standardized. It is personal. Another thing that makes Filipino food impossible to copy is its relationship with contrast. Many cuisines try to balance flavors carefully. Filipino food embraces contrast instead. Sweet with salty, sour with savory, soft with crispy. At first, outsiders feel confused. Why is this sweet? Why is this sour? Why are these flavors together? But Filipinos don't ask those questions. Because the food was never designed to explain itself. It was designed to comfort. And comfort doesn't need permission. A dish like adobo is not just vinegar and soy sauce. It is memory. It is a pot left simmering while the family sleeps. It is food that can last without refrigeration. It is safety. You can recreate the ingredients. But can you recreate the reason? Another reason Filipino food cannot be copied is because it adapts without losing its soul. When Filipinos migrated to other countries, they didn't abandon their food. They adjusted it. New ingredients, different kitchens, different climates. But the spirit stayed the same. Filipino food absorbs influences without losing identity. Spanish, Chinese, American. Yet it still tastes Filipino. That is rare. Many cuisines change when influenced. Filipino food transforms others instead. That is why it confuses people. They can't categorize it. And things that cannot be categorized are hard to copy. There is also something deeper. Filipino food carries humility. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't shout. It waits. It sits quietly on the table, unpretentious, simple. And then you take a bite, and suddenly you understand. This food does not perform. It connects. That connection is emotional, and emotion cannot be replicated by technique alone. Another reason Filipino food cannot be copied is because it was designed to be shared. Many dishes are made for groups, for families, for gatherings, large pots, shared plates, communal eating. The food tastes different when eaten alone. It feels incomplete because it was never meant to be isolated. You cannot copy Filipino food without copying the way it is eaten. Hands reaching for the same dish. Rice passed around the table. Stories told while eating. That environment changes flavor. Science won't explain it, but humans feel it. Now let me ask you something important. Have you noticed that Filipino food doesn't try to be perfect? The rice might be slightly overcooked, the sauce slightly too sour, the meat not evenly cut. And yet, it feels right. That imperfection is intentional. Because Filipino food was built for real life, not presentation. It fits the messiness of reality. That is why when people try to copy it in restaurants, they often polish it too much. They clean it, refine it, remove the rough edges. And in doing so, they remove the soul. This is why Filipino food struggles to fit global expectations. But that is also why it endures. Because trends fade. But survival food stays. Now, if you're still watching, you're starting to understand something most people don't. Filipino food is not difficult to copy because of ingredients. It is difficult because of experience. You cannot copy hunger. You cannot copy memory. You cannot copy family history. You cannot copy a culture that learned to make something out of almost nothing. That is why Filipino food doesn't chase validation. It exists whether the world approves or not. And slowly, quietly, the world is starting to notice. Before this video ends, I want you to answer this in the comments. What food from your culture feels impossible to copy, and why? Your answer might be featured in a future video. If this video helped you see Filipino food differently, please like it. It tells YouTube this story matters. Subscribe if you want more documentaries that go deeper than taste and into meaning. And remember this, some food is made to impress, some food is made to survive. Filipino food did both, and that is why it can never be copied.